Katie Morgan pressed her face against the cold window of the transport ship. Her breath made small clouds on the glass as she stared at the huge space station growing bigger in front of them.
Ow.
Nexus Academy looked like a metal city floating in the darkness between stars. Lights blinked along its surface like tiny jewels. She pulled back from the window and looked around the passenger area. Other young beings sat in their seats, some reading data pads, others talking quietly. Katie saw creatures she had only read about in books. There was a tall being with blue skin and forearms. Another looked like a giant cat walking on two legs. A third had scales like a lizard but wore the same academy uniform as everyone else. Katie touched the enrollment papers in her jacket pocket. According to those papers, she was 19 years old and came from the Mars colonies. The Human Colonial Authority had sponsored her admission to the academy. But Katie knew something the papers did not say. She could not remember anything from. Before her 16th birthday, 3 years ago, a cargo ship had found her floating in a small escape pod near Jupiter. She was unconscious and badly hurt. The doctors said she had been in some kind of accident, maybe a pirate attack. They fixed her injuries, but her memories were gone. The authorities gave her a new identity and sent her to live with a foster family on Mars. Katie had tried many times to remember her past. Sometimes she had dreams about dark spaces and strange voices. When she woke up, the images faded like smoke, and the doctor said her memories might come back someday. Or they might not. The transport ship docked with a soft bump. A voice over the speakers told everyone to gather their belongings and prepare to board the station. Katie picked up her small bag. Everything she owned fit inside it. She had no family photos or childhood treasures because she had no childhood she could remember. The airlock opened with a hiss. Katie followed the other new students into a wide corridor. The walls were made of some kind of metal that seemed to glow with its own light. Alien writing covered information boards. But her translator device quickly changed the words into English. A tall woman in a blue uniform waited for the human students. She had short gray hair and serious eyes. When she spoke, her voice carried authority. Human cadets, I am Commander Vex. I will be your primary instructor during your time here. Follow me. Katie and 5 other humans walked behind Commander Vex. Through the station corridors, Commander explained that Nexus Academy had been built in neutral space, far from any single world. Students came from 12 different planets to learn about diplomacy, law, and peacekeeping. Humans joined the Galactic Coalition 50 years ago, Commander Vex said as they walked. You are still the newest members? Some species here have been part of the coalition for thousands of years. You will need to work hard to prove yourselves. They entered a large room filled with students of all shapes and sizes. Katie estimated there were about 200 beings present. Some looked almost human, except for strange skin colors or extra limbs. Others were so different she could not figure out which end was their head. This is the main assembly hall, Commander Vex explained. You will receive your room assignments and class schedules here. Classes begin tomorrow at 0800 hours. A young woman with dark skin and bright eyes approached Katie. She smiled and held out her hand. Hi, I'm Elena Rodriguez from the South American Federation. You from Mars too? Katie shook her hand. Yes, the colonies. I'm Katie Morgan. Great. Maybe we can be study partners. This place is incredible, but also pretty scary. I've never seen so many different species in one place. Dean nodded. Elena seemed nice, and Katie had not had many friends growing up. The foster families had been kind, but distant. She had always felt like she was waiting for something, though she did not know what. They received their room assignments. JD and Elena would share quarters on level 7. Their rooms were small but comfortable, with 2 beds, a desk, and a small bathroom. A window looked out at the stars. So what made you want to come here? Elena asked as they unpacked their few belongings. Katie had practiced this answer. I want to serve the coalition and help keep peace between worlds. Mars is a frontier colony. We depend on trade and cooperation with other species. It was true, but not the whole truth. Katie had applied to the academy because she hoped it might help her discover her past. If she had been involved in some kind of accident or attack, Maybe working with coalition security would give her access to records that could help her remember. Alina talked about her family, back on Earth, and her dreams of becoming a diplomat. Katie listened and tried to seem interested, but part of her mind was always thinking about the empty years before her 16th birthday. That evening, they attended their first formal dinner in the main hall. Students sat at long tables arranged by species. Katie found herself between Alina and a tall being with golden feathers instead of hair. The feathered being introduced himself as Zephyr from Altair Prime. "It is an honor to meet representatives of humanity," Zephyr said. His voice had a musical quality like wind chimes. "Your species has an interesting reputation among the coalition worlds." "What kind of reputation?" Alina asked. "Unpredictable? Adaptable? Some say humans are too emotional to be good peacekeepers. Others say your emotions make you better at understanding different viewpoints." Katie listened to the conversation but found herself studying the other students. Something felt familiar about this place, though she was certain she had never been here before. When she looked at the alien technology around them, she sometimes had the strange feeling that she understood how it worked. After dinner, they returned to their room. Alina fell asleep quickly, but Katie lay awake staring at the ceiling. Kept thinking about what Zephyr had said about humans being unpredictable. She certainly felt unpredictable to herself. Around midnight, she got up and went to the small desk. She activated the computer terminal and began reading about the Academy's history. Most of the information was standard, but one thing caught her attention. The Academy kept detailed records of all students who had ever attended. Someone wanted to hide or find information about a person's past. This would be a good place to do it. Katie opened her personal files on the terminal. Everything looked normal. Birth records from Mars, school transcripts, medical records showing her injuries from the escape pod incident. But at the bottom of the file, she found something strange. There was a small data packet labeled Authorized Personnel Only. When she tried to open it, the computer asked for security clearance she did not have. But for just a moment, before the access denied message appeared, she saw a single line of text. "The key lies within. Trust no one. They're coming for you." Katie stared at the screen. The message was gone now, as if it had never existed. She tried to access the file again, but it no longer appeared in her records. Had she imagined it? Was her mind playing tricks on her? She closed the terminal and went back to bed, but sleep would not come. Someone had put that message in her files. Someone who wanted her to see it, but only for a moment. Someone who knew. She would be curious enough to look through her own records on her first night at the Academy. Katie pulled the blanket up to her chin and listened to Elena's quiet breathing. Tomorrow would bring new classes and new challenges. But tonight, she had learned something important. Her past was not as buried as everyone thought. And apparently, it was dangerous enough that someone felt the need to warn her. She finally fell asleep wondering who they were and why they might be coming for her. 3 months had passed since Katie arrived at Nexus Academy. She sat in her combat training class, watching other students struggle with the zero-gravity simulation. They floated awkwardly in the air, bumping into walls and each other. Katie moved through the space like she had been born in zero gravity. "Excellent work, Cadet Morgan," said Instructor Blake, a human woman with cybernetic arms. "Your movement patterns are very advanced for someone from the colonies." Katie landed softly on the practice mat. She had no idea how she moved so well in zero gravity. The skills just came naturally to her, like walking or breathing. But colony. Children grew up in artificial gravity. They should not move like spacers who live their whole lives in zero-G. Alina watched from the side of the training area. Her friend had been asking questions about Katie's unusual abilities for weeks. Katie could see the worry in Elena's eyes. After class, they walked to the dining hall together. Alina was quiet, which was unusual for her. Finally, she spoke. "Katie, we need to talk. Something strange is happening with you." They found an empty table in the corner of the dining hall. Alina leaned forward and spoke in a low voice. "Last week in xenobiology class, you identified a plant species that Professor Yeek said was extinct. You knew details about it that were not in any textbook. How did you know that?" Katie had been wondering the same thing. During the class, she had looked at the holographic plant and somehow known everything about it. Its name, its home planet, even how it reproduced. The knowledge had just appeared in her mind. I don't know, Katie said honestly. Sometimes I just know things. I can't explain it. Alina reached across the table and took her hand. I'm worried about you. You have nightmares almost every night. You talk in your sleep about burning cities and people in dark armor. Your combat scores are impossible. You're better than students who come from warrior cultures. Katie knew Alina was right. The nightmares were getting worse. She dreamed about running through burning buildings while strange ships filled the sky. She heard voices calling her name, but the voices did not sound human. When she woke up, she felt like the dreams were trying to tell her something important. Have you talked to anyone about this? Alina asked. Who would believe me? I'm just a colony girl who lost her memory. They would think I was making it up. Alina squeezed her hand. I believe you. Should find out what's really going on. That afternoon, Katie attended her favorite class, Galactic History with Professor X. The professor was a crystalline being from a very old species. Professor Ix had lived for thousands of years and knew more about the galaxy than anyone else at the academy. Today's lesson was about ancient civilizations. Professor X showed holograms of dead worlds and ruined cities. Katie found herself staring at one image in particular. It showed a planet covered in black glass where cities used to be. This world was called Kepler 7, Professor X explained. An entire civilization vanished overnight about 800 years ago. No one knows what happened to them. Katie felt a chill run down her spine. She had seen this planet before in her dreams. She knew that the black glass was all that remained after something terrible had burned the world. After class, Professor X asked Katie to stay behind, the old crystal being waited until all the other students had left before speaking. We have questions, young human. I can see it in your mind patterns. Katie was surprised. She did not know that Professor X could read thoughts. Don't worry, I only sense strong emotions, not specific thoughts. But you have been carrying a great burden of confusion and fear. Perhaps I can help. Katie decided to trust the professor. She told Professor X about her missing memories, her strange dreams, and the hidden message in her files. Professor X listened without interrupting. When Katie finished, the professor was quiet for a long time. Finally, the crystal being spoke. In a voice that seemed very old and sad, there are things in this galaxy that most species choose to forget. Ancient dangers that return like cycles of nature. Some civilizations prepare for these dangers. Others pretend they do not exist. What kind of dangers? Katie asked. The kind that can turn entire worlds into black glass. The kind that the coalition hopes will never return, but secretly prepares to fight. Professor X moved closer to Katie. The crystal being's body reflected the light in strange patterns. Tell me, child, have you ever heard of something called the Inheritor Protocol? Katie shook her head, but something about the words felt familiar. Is mentioned in very old texts. It's a plan to create guardians who could protect the galaxy from ancient threats. Most scholars think it is just a legend. Professor X paused and seemed to study Katie carefully. But legends sometimes have truth hidden inside them. Be careful who you trust, young human. Your arrival here was not as random as you think. That evening, Katie could not stop thinking about Professor X's words. She sat at her computer terminal and began searching through the Academy's database. She looked for any information about the Inheritor Protocol, but found nothing. She tried searching for records about her rescue near Jupiter. The official report was simple. Cargo ship had found her escape pod drifting in space. She had been unconscious and injured. No other ships were detected in the area, but something bothered Katie about the report. Why had a cargo ship been in that area? There were no trade routes near Jupiter's outer moons. What had the cargo ship been carrying, and where had it been going? Katie dug deeper into the shipping records. It took her hours, but she finally found what she was looking for. The cargo ship that rescued her was called the Mercury Runner. According to the records, it had been carrying scientific equipment to a research station. But when Katie looked up the research station, she found something strange. The station had been destroyed in an accident just 3 days after her rescue. The official report said there was an explosion in the reactor. Everyone on the station died. Katie felt her heart beating faster. Too many coincidences. She was rescued by a ship that happened to be near Jupiter. 3 days later, the station that ship was visiting exploded. And somehow, she had been found floating in space with no memory of how she got there. She tried to access more detailed records about the research station, but her security clearance was too low. The files were marked as classified by Coalition intelligence. Katie leaned back in her chair and stared at the computer screen. Someone was hiding something about her past. The research station explosion was not an accident, and her rescue was not random. She heard Alina stirring in her bed. Katie quickly closed the computer and pretended to be asleep. But her mind was racing.
Maybe.
Tomorrow, she would find a way to access those classified files. She needed to know what had really happened at that research station as she lay in the dark. Katie heard Alina talking in her sleep, but Alina was not speaking English. She was speaking in a language Katie had never heard before, yet somehow she understood every word. Alina was saying the subject is developing faster than expected. Her abilities are manifesting ahead of schedule. Should we activate the protocol now? Katie's blood turned cold. Alina was not talking to herself. She was talking to someone through some kind of hidden communication device. Alina had been watching her all along. Katie forced herself to breathe slowly and keep her eyes closed. Alina was not her friend. Alina was reporting on her to someone else. The warning message had been right. Trust no one. In the morning, Katie would have to act like nothing had changed. She would smile at Alina and go to classes as usual, but now she knew the truth. She was not just a student at the academy. She was being studied, watched, and tested. The question was why? What made her so important that people would go to such lengths to monitor her? And what was this protocol that Alina had mentioned? Katie finally fell asleep just before dawn. In her dreams, she saw burning worlds and heard voices calling her name. This time, she also heard something else. A voice that sounded like her own, but older and sadder. The voice was saying, "Remember who you are, Catherine. They need you to remember." When Katie woke up, she could not shake the feeling that Catherine was her real name, and that somewhere, in her missing memories, was the key to everything that was happening to her. Katie spent the next few days pretending everything was normal. She smiled at Alina during meals and studied with her in the evenings. But inside, Katie felt like she was walking on thin ice. Every word Alina spoke might be a lie. Every friendly gesture might be part of her mission to watch. Katie. The hardest part was acting surprised when Alina mentioned things about Katie's abilities. When Alina commented on Katie's perfect scores in combat training, Katie had to pretend she did not know. Alina was reporting these details to someone else. 3 days after overhearing Alina's midnight conversation, Katie found her chance. Alina left their room to attend a special tutoring session for diplomatic protocol. Katie waited 10 minutes, then slipped out and headed for the restricted sections of the academy. She had been studying the station's layout for weeks. There were areas marked as maintenance levels that students were not supposed to visit. But Katie's enhanced abilities seemed to extend beyond combat and academics. She could sense the electronic locks and security systems like a sixth sense. Level 12 was listed as environmental systems storage. Katie took the service elevator down, her heart pounding. If security caught her here, she would be expelled from the academy. But she needed answers more than she needed to stay safe. The corridor was dark and empty. Katie followed her instincts, turning left and right through passages that all looked the same. She had no map, but somehow she knew where to go. After 10 minutes of walking, she found what she was looking for. A section of the wall looked different from the rest. When Katie touched it, her fingers tingled. The wall was not really a wall. It was some kind of holographic projection hiding. A door. Katie pressed her palm against the surface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the false wall shimmered and disappeared, revealing a hidden entrance. Beyond the door was a room filled with holographic projectors and data storage units. But what caught Katie's attention was the chair in the center of the room. Like a medical chair, but covered with strange devices and wires. A voice spoke from behind her. I was wondering when you would find this place. Katia spun around. Commander Vex stood in the doorway, but she was not wearing her usual uniform. Instead, she wore black clothing with no rank insignia. Don't be afraid, Commander Vex said. I'm here to give you answers, not to stop you. Katie backed away from the commander. Who are you, really? What is this place? Commander Vex walked to a control panel and activated the holographic projectors. Images filled the air around them. Katie saw pictures of herself, but younger, maybe 15 or 16 years old. Tell me she was wearing a military uniform she did not recognize. Your real name is Catherine Hayes, Commander Vex said. You volunteered for a special program called Project Lazarus. This room is where your memories were stored before they were suppressed. Katie stared at the images. The girl in the pictures looked like her, but something was different. The girl's eyes held knowledge and pain that Katie did not remember feeling. I volunteered for what? Why don't I remember any of this? Commander Vex touched another control. New images appeared. Katie saw a burning city, ships attacking from space, and soldiers fighting with weapons that seemed to bend light itself. 3 years ago, Earth was attacked by scouts from an ancient enemy. They call themselves the Void Touched. Your family was killed in that attack. You volunteered for Project Lazarus to help stop them. Katie felt like the floor was moving under her feet. She had a family. They were dead. She had volunteered to become something else to fight their killers. Project Lazarus was designed to create enhanced humans who could fight the Void Touched, Commander Vex continued. Your body was modified with alien technology. Your mind was enhanced to process information faster than any normal human. But the process was dangerous. Most volunteers did not survive. The images changed again. Katie saw a laboratory filled with medical equipment. She saw herself lying in the chair that was now in front of her. Doctors worked around her while machines monitored her vital signs. You were one of 12 subjects. The others died during the enhancement process. You survived, but the psychological trauma was too great. Your mind started to break down. The only way to save you was to suppress your memories and give you a new identity. Katie touched her head. So everything I remember about being from Mars is fake? We placed you with a foster family and created false records. The plan was to let you live a normal life, but the Void Touched have returned. We need you to remember who you really are. Commander Vex activated another set of controls. The chair in the center of the room began to glow. This device can restore your memories. But I have to warn you, the memories include everything you went through during the enhancement process. And everything you learned about the Void Touched. The knowledge might be too much for your mind to handle. Katie looked at the chair. She thought about the strange dreams, the abilities she could not explain, and the feeling that she was waiting for something important to happen. What about Alina? Is she part of this too? Commander Vex nodded. Alina Rodriguez is an agent with Coalition Intelligence. She was assigned to monitor you and report on your development. But she was not supposed to become emotionally attached to you. That has complicated things. Katie felt anger rising in her chest. So she was never my friend? At first, no. But Elena's reports show that she genuinely cares about you now. She has been asking her superiors to find another way to activate your abilities without restoring your painful memories. Alarms suddenly began ringing throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the hidden room. Commander Vex rushed to a communication panel. What's happening? Katie asked. Commander Vex's face went pale as she listened to the emergency reports. Long-range sensors have detected massive energy signatures at the edge of the galaxy. The Void-Touched fleet is approaching. They're coming back ahead of schedule. Katie felt something change inside her mind. Alarms seemed to trigger memories that had been sleeping for 3 years. She remembered standing on a burning street watching her parents die. She remembered volunteering for Project Lazarus because she wanted revenge. How long do we have? Katie asked. Maybe a few weeks before they reach Coalition space. Maybe less. Katie walked to the glowing chair. She could feel the device calling to her, like it recognized something in her enhanced biology. If I do this, if I get my memories back, will I still be me? Commander Vex looked sad. I don't know. Catherine Hayes was a different person than Katie Morgan. She had seen terrible things and made hard choices. But she was also brave and determined to protect innocent people. Katie sat down in the chair. The devices automatically adjusted to fit her body. She could feel the machine connecting to her nervous system. Will you tell Alina the truth about me? If you want me to. Katie thought about her friend. Alina had lied to her, but she had also been the only person to show Katie real kindness in 3 years. Tell her that Katie Morgan forgives her, but Catherine Hayes will decide if she trusts her. Commander Vex activated the memory restoration device. Katie felt electricity flowing through her brain. Images and sensations flooded her mind. She remembered her real childhood, her family. It's the attack that changed everything. She remembered volunteering for Project Lazarus. She remembered the pain of the enhancement process and the horror of learning about the void touched. She remembered that the galaxy was in danger and that she had been created to fight an enemy that consumed entire civilizations. When the process finished, Katie opened her eyes. But she was no longer just Katie Morgan, the confused girl from Mars. She was also Catherine Hayes, enhanced soldier and humanity's weapon against the dark. How do you feel? Commander Vex asked. Catherine stood up from the chair. Her movements were different now, more confident and controlled. She could feel the enhanced abilities that had been dormant in her modified body. I remember everything, Catherine said. I remember what the void touch do to the worlds they capture. I remember why I volunteered to become this. Looked at Commander Vex with eyes that now held the knowledge and determination of a soldier. How many others survived the Lazarus program? Commander Vex hesitated. You're the only one, Catherine. The rest of the galaxy doesn't know what's coming. You're our only hope. Catherine nodded. She had expected as much. The void touched were an enemy that could adapt to any conventional weapon or strategy. It would take something they had never encountered before to stop them. Then we better get started. I have a war to prepare for. The void-touched fleet moved through space like a dark storm. Catherine watched the tactical displays from the bridge of the Coalition warship Defender. Each red dot on the screen represented a ship bigger than most space stations. There were hundreds of them. 2 weeks had passed since Catherine regained her memories. The Academy had been evacuated to this massive warship, which now served as the mobile command center for the Coalition's desperate defense. Students who had once studied together now prepared for a war that would decide the fate of all life in the galaxy. Alina stood beside Catherine at the tactical display. The truth about Elena's original mission had created tension between them, but they were working through it. Alina had proven her loyalty by refusing orders to sedate Catherine when her enhanced abilities began manifesting at dangerous levels. They're not attacking the outer colonies, Alina observed, studying the enemy movement patterns. They're heading straight for the core worlds. Catherine nodded. Her enhanced mind could process the tactical information much faster than normal humans. They learned from their scouts 3 years ago. They know our defensive strategies now. They're not interested in a slow conquest this time. Zephyr approached them, his golden feathers ruffled with anxiety. My people's fleet engaged the enemy at Altair Prime 6 hours ago. We lost contact 30 minutes into the battle. Catherine felt a cold weight in her stomach. Altair Prime had one of the strongest space navies in the Coalition. If they had been defeated so quickly, conventional weapons would not be enough to stop the void touched. Commander Vex appeared on the bridge. But she now wore the uniform of a Coalition admiral. Her real rank had been hidden while she monitored. Catherine at the Academy. All senior staff to the war room, Admiral Vex announced. We have new intelligence about the enemy. Catherine followed the group to a large room filled with holographic displays. The images showed the aftermath of battles throughout Coalition space. Burning ships drifted in space, while strange energy patterns consumed entire star systems. Void-touched aren't just destroying our fleets, Admiral Vex explained. They're converting our technology to serve them. Every ship we lose becomes part of their fleet. Every weapon we fire teaches them how to defend against it. General Martinez, a human officer with gray hair and tired eyes, stepped forward. Our conventional forces can't win this war. Every battle makes them stronger. Catherine studied the tactical data. Her enhanced mind began to see patterns that others missed. They're not trying to conquer the galaxy piece by piece. They're herding our fleets toward the core worlds. They want us all in one place. For what purpose? Asked Dr. Stone, the Coalition's chief scientist. Catherine felt her enhanced memories providing the answer. For the harvest. They consume life energy more efficiently when it's concentrated. They're planning to drain every living being in the core systems at once. The room fell silent. Alina reached over and took Catherine's hand, offering what comfort she could. Admiral Vex activated another display. Our long-range sensors have detected the source of their power. There's a massive structure at the center of their fleet. It exists partially outside normal space-time. We believe it's their command center and the focal point for their harvesting technology. Catherine stared at the image. The structure looked like a twisted version of a space station, but it seemed to bend light around itself in impossible ways. Need to get to that structure, Catherine said quietly. That's suicide, General Martinez replied. It's surrounded by their entire fleet, not for someone like me. Catherine turned to face the group. I was designed to interface with their technology. If I can reach their command center, I might be able to disrupt their entire network. Alina squeezed her hand tighter. There has to be another way. Catherine looked at her friend with sad eyes. The Lazarus enhancement wasn't just about making me stronger or faster. It was about creating someone who could think like them, understand their technology from the inside. I'm the only one who can do this. Admiral Vex nodded slowly, suspected this day would come. There's a prototype ship designed specifically for this mission. It's equipped with stealth technology that should get you close to their command. Structure. I'm going with her, Alina said firmly. No, Catherine replied. This is something I have to do alone. You've been alone long enough, Alina said. Katie Morgan needed a friend. Catherine Hayes needs a partner. I'm not letting you face this by yourself. Zephyr stepped forward. If you are assembling a team, I request permission to join. My people are gone. I have nothing left but the chance to avenge them. Soon other students from the academy were volunteering. Corax, the philosophical reptilian, offered his services as a tactical advisor. Marcus Webb, a human engineering student, insisted they would need someone who understood the prototype. Ship's systems. Catherine realized that her fellow students had become something more than classmates. They had become her crew, her family, her hope for the future. 3 days later, Catherine stood in the hangar bay looking at their ship. The vessel was small, but packed with advanced technology. It could phase in and out of normal space, making it nearly invisible to sensors. Alina checked the navigation systems while the others prepared their equipment. Catherine approached Admiral Vex for final instructions. The mission isn't to destroy their command center, the Admiral said, to find a way to communicate with whatever consciousness controls the void touched. Intelligence suggests they weren't always like this. Something changed them into the beings they are. Now, Catherine nodded. Her enhanced memories included fragments of ancient history. The void touched had once been explorers and scientists. Something had corrupted them, turned them into consumers of life instead of students of it. The ship launched from the Defender and began its journey toward the enemy fleet. Catherine sat in the pilot seat, her enhanced reflexes allowing her to navigate through space in ways that would be impossible for normal humans. Energy signatures increasing, Alina reported from the sensor station. We're approaching the outer edge of their fleet. Catherine activated the ship's phasing technology. Reality seemed to blur around them as they slipped between dimensions. Void-touched vessels passed by like ghosts, unable to detect their presence. Their Zephyr pointed to the main display. The command structure. The twisted station grew larger as they approached. Catherine could feel something calling to her. From within it, her enhanced mind recognized patterns in the structure that seemed almost alive. I'm detecting life signs, Marcus reported. But they're not like anything in our databases. The readings are strange, like the beings are existing in multiple dimensions. At once, Catherine docked their ship to a maintenance port on the command structure. The port accepted their ship as if it recognized the Lazarus technology and Catherine's enhanced biology. The team made their way through corridors that seemed to shift and change around them. Catherine led them deeper into the structure, following instincts she did not fully understand. Finally, they reached a vast chamber at the heart of the station. In the center floated a being of pure energy, but Catherine could sense the pain and confusion radiating from it. "You are the hybrid?" The being spoke directly into their minds. Part flesh, part void, part light. Catherine stepped forward. "I know what you are. You're not evil. You're lost." The being's energy flickered. "We were explorers once. We sought to transcend physical form, but we went too far. We touched something in the dark between galaxies. It changed us, made us hunger for what we once were." Catherine felt understanding flood through her enhanced mind. "You consume life energy because you're trying to remember how to live. But the hunger never stops because you're looking in the wrong place. Show us," the being pleaded. "Show us how to exist without consuming others." Catherine reached out with her mind, using the full power of her Lazarus enhancements. She shared her memories of friendship, love, hope, and sacrifice. She showed the being what it meant to be human, too. Care for others more than yourself. The being's energy changed, becoming brighter and more stable. "Yes. We remember now. We remember what we lost." Across the galaxy, the void-touched fleet began to change. Ships that had been consuming worlds started healing the damage they had caused. The dark energy that surrounded them transformed into something that gave life instead of taking it. Catherine and her team returned to the Coalition fleet as heroes. But Catherine knew the real victory was not in defeating an enemy. It was in helping a lost civilization find its way home. Months later, Catherine stood once again at the window of Nexus Academy. But now she watched former void-touched beings, working alongside organic students, learning together how to build instead of destroy. Alina joined her at the window. "Any regrets about getting your memories back?" Catherine smiled. Katie Morgan was afraid of her past. Catherine Hayes learned that sometimes the greatest victories come not from fighting your enemies, but from understanding them. She put her arm around Elena's shoulders. "Besides, some things are worth remembering, like friendship, like hope, like the fact that no one has to face the darkness alone."